Hello friends, I am so glad that you joined me today. I'm Rob, and thanks for stopping by my channel. In today's episode, we're going to take the deepest dive into the stuff that we've done yet. So far in this series, we've talked about finger exercises, chromatics, fretboard visualization, chord shapes, intervals, chord structure. Now it's time to level up. This is the chord progressions episode. So what is a chord progression? Well, it's basically the bones of a song. It's the primary structure of songs and themes that give meaning to the individual notes. Melodies and improvisation in songs react and follow to what the chord progression is doing. Sometimes the melody of the riff is conceived first, and then the chord progression is kind of what fills in the gaps for the shape of the song. It's systematic though, and I want to help you to understand at least some of it right now. So let's jump right in. All right, first I want to provide you with the basic framework for all of this. This is what is known as the diatonic chord scale. Here's what it sounds like in the key of C. All right, it's also the basis for what we're going to be doing today. When we pick a key and assign a number to it, we can put it into the context of a song. Some folks call this the Nashville Number System, but musicians have been using this system for multiple generations before it got to Nashville. These numbers are traditionally notated by using Roman numerals, using uppercase for major chords and lowercase for minor chords. Here's one that you may have heard before. Can you guess what song that is? Okay, I wasn't even really playing a song there, and I was actually playing dozens of songs there at the same time. It's a 1-5-6-4 progression. People have made billions and billions of dollars from this chord progression and still do today. How about this one? All right, did you recognize that one? Well, it was basically the same song, it was just in a different key, and a different register, and a different style altogether, but it was the same chord progression. For this episode, I picked 12 popular songs from throughout the last 50 years using 1-5-6-4 in it at some point in time or another, if not throughout the entire song. Now, I might mumble some of the lyrics here, but whatever, I don't know. I'm just kind of getting the notes out there. All right, let's roll. No woman, no cry. And I said, no woman, no cry. Doop, da, doop, cooking, goes to the beat of the down, ripple, ripple, do, 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 and didn't do the right of them down. Well, I heard you cry loud all the way across town. Well, you can don't let the days go by. There's a rain, there's a rain. Baby, you're my favorite, shake it down until you love me. Tuesday's gone with the wind. My baby's gone with the wind. I'm heading down south to the land of the pine, on my way up to North Carolina. Staring up the road, pray to God I see it. No one, no one, no one. Sometimes you walked away from me. Nobody likes you when you're 23. See the stone sit in your eye. See the thorn twist in your side. I'll wait for you. She's just a small town girl living in a lonely world. She took a midnight train going anywhere. Okay, there you go. And we're just scratching the surface of popular songs using 1-5-6-4 and variations of it. That's just a small example of what learning chord progressions in the number system is capable of doing for you. You can gain the ability to recognize these chord progressions through time, practice, and active listening. Then you can be a total gig master and learn any song thrown your way. Let's just take a little closer look at this. Okay, so we have the diatonic chord scale here. How is this built? Well, it's built off the Ionian scale, otherwise known as the major scale. Right here. One thing to memorize is the structure of the major scale and the distance between the individual notes of the major scale. This will help you to remember how these notes are laid out in every key. Okay, so what you do is you pick your key and you remember this. Whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. Those are the distances between each step of the major scale. You can sort these out in order and number them. The way these chords are harmonized and built from just the major scale creates a pattern for these chords as far as major and minor chords are concerned within the diatonic chord scale. So that pattern is major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, diminished, major. All you have to do is pick a key and count the steps. So if I want to move these around into different keys, then I just remember whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half, and major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, diminished, major. Then we count it up in steps. So this stuff is kind of like the cheat codes on Super Mario or something back in the day. It's like your up, up, down, down, left, right, start, select, or something like that. I know you can memorize it. So if it's in C, there won't be any sharps or flats to this pattern. By moving up in steps using the pattern of the major scale, we can fill in the landing notes and assign our numbers to them, along with whatever chords are major or minor. If you have to, write out the chromatic scale, count the steps, and circle the landing spots. Remember, every note has a sharp or flat between it, except for E and F and B and C, which are only a half step or one fret apart from one another. Okay, so in the key of C major, we have the notes C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and C. Okay, so there's a bunch of ways to play this. So using the Roman numerals for each of these, we can go ahead and assign a number to each of these stopping points, along with putting it in the context of major or minor chords. All right, so in the key of C, we have C major, D minor, E minor, F, G, A minor, B diminished, and C. In the key of G, we would have G, A minor, B minor, C, D, E minor, F sharp diminished, and G. You throw in some seventh chords, and it sounds even better. All right, let's just go ahead and pause here for a second for a little Rob chat. Hi. So, music. Music is about artistic expression through tones and rhythm. We add lyrics to fortify the meaning of these notes, but it's all about the notes and the rhythm. These individual tones physically vibrate through the air, and our ears and brain receive this input based on the speed and the cycles of these vibrations. We can actually calculate this stuff. With intervals, you find that some tones sound pretty good together when played in sequence. In the last video, we got to hear how these tones kind of vibrate when stacked alongside one another and when you're building your chords. Some of these combinations sound really pleasing, and some may sound more difficult for the ears and the brain to process. But ultimately, they're there to be listened to. They're there to be manipulated. Even though these vibrations cycle at consistent and quantifiable rates, our perception and enjoyment of combining these combinations vary from person to person. Now, I'm just going to be honest here, I'm not a big listener of country music. It's just not my personal preference. But that's just the beautiful thing about the human experience. Preferences are different between all of us. It doesn't make one person wrong or right. It just makes them unique, which is a beautiful thing. Not just in music, in daily life. That's what makes all of us such interesting and awesome individuals. Even though I don't casually listen to country music, I can find value in it and appreciate the value that style of music provides to others. And I did honestly give it a chance, and I still do. And there are a couple of country jams out there that I like listening to from time to time, a couple of bangers here and there. I've actually performed dozens and dozens of country songs in front of a lot of people and played in a lot of bands that play mostly or all country music. I was able to learn dozens and dozens of songs that I had never heard before and play them in front of people who'd been listening to that stuff their entire lives. Why? Because of chord progressions. Some of the same chord progressions used in those songs are some of the same chord progressions I was already familiar with through playing rock, blues, pop, soul, funk, jazz, reggae, you name it. We all like what we like, and we can't help that. But the notes are already there to be picked out of thin air for the musician. That's the important part. That's a beautiful thing right there. What you do with this power is up to you. Thousands and thousands of songs use the same set of a few different chord progressions or variations of them. Some chord progressions even have tiny versions of chord progressions within them. For example, one of my favorite songs in the entire world, Autumn Leaves. Make sure you check out the Cannonball Adderley version first, off the Something Else album. Autumn Leaves has a series of multiple different 2-5-1 progressions within a larger chord progression. That song's not alone. There are thousands. If you want to see how one chord progression has been absolutely beaten into the ground and will continue to for many years to come, check out the 4 Chords video on YouTube by Axis of Awesome. It's great. So some of the most popular chord progressions used in pop and rock music are the 1-5-6-4 that we heard plenty of examples of so far. Axis of Awesome video also uses and highlights the 1-5-6-4 chord progression. People will use this in many different ways. They'll do a 1-6-4-5 or a 4-1-5-6 or a 6-4-1-5. You can mix and match them how you want to. Songwriters may mix up the order in order to harmonize it even further by using chord substitutions, which we won't get into quite right now. That's the formula for a hit. Also, there's the 1-4-5, which is the chord progression of the blues. There are lots of variations on this one too, even though it's just 3 chords. It's not only used in blues, it's been used in about every genre you can think of since the late 1800s. But blues was really the start of it all. It's used everywhere in jazz. It's really the foundation of rock from the beginning in the 1950s, 60s, and 70s, all the way through today. Also, there's the 2-5-1 that I mentioned earlier. It's used all over jazz. I can even remember once having to play a Maroon 5 song that used 2-5-1 throughout the entire song, except for kind of a little Dave Matthews-y style bridge in the middle, but it did 2-5-1 the entire way. So it's not just used in jazz. Okay, Sunday Morning is what that one was called. So there's an example of 2-5-1 in pop music. These chord progressions aren't the only way to do it though. The options are endless. Some people use some pretty far out chord progressions in their music that really aren't used very often. One of my favorite music YouTubers, Rick Beato, had an incredibly interesting video on Nirvana's In Bloom. That song lands on every note within the chromatic scale. I'm not just talking about the notes within the song, I'm talking about they land on every single notes within in a chord progression in the chromatic scale. That is absolutely crazy for a pop song, especially one that's off one of the greatest selling rock albums of this era. That is nuts. So maybe that's why a lot of people get bored listening to some of the music out there. It's not necessarily even new music, because there's a lot of stuff we've all heard a million times before when you really think about it. It's just presented into a different package. Again, we all have our preferences. I think at large, songs that get really popular and have millions and millions of listens and make a large pile of money for the publishers and the giant music corporations out there, I think they have a one common denominator. That's familiarity. It's ease of listening. Most people just really don't want to think too hard when they listen to music. Rather just enjoy it in the background or when they're driving or at the club or whatever. That's not really a jab or anything, it's just the facts. As musicians, we put an incredibly high personal value on music as a whole. And it can be difficult to remember that sometimes when you're very passionate about it. Familiarity is the key when trying to write a huge hit. Cognitive psychologist Steven Pinker even went so far as to call music auditory cheesecake, which I kind of agree with after stewing on that statement for about a decade now. But also as a lifelong musician at the age of 45, with a degree in linguistics who also dabbles in cognitive science a little bit, I do have a video series planned in the future for my retort regarding that comment, along with some of my notes on the relationship between music and language. Because here's the thing, linguists don't consider music a language. Even though I do believe that auditory cheesecake claim is valid for some reason, I just can't help but feel like that statement left behind a slight scent of fart cheesecake in my ears. So I've got something to say about that at some point on this channel. Anyway, I digress. The bottom line here is that people want an anthemic hook that's easy to follow along to. Really, listeners want to have a good groove that allow you to work up some stomp claps and sing along a little bit. Stomp, clap, stomp, clap. Listeners want to have something that's new, but also has a level of familiarity to it that they can't quite pinpoint. That is the recipe for a hit, my friends. Along with a few other intangible factors such as perseverance and hard work, some luck and being in the right place at the right time, your music getting to the right ears, and a lot of times, let's be honest, privilege is involved, but that's for a whole other video as well. All right, back on track here. When it comes to writing a song, you pick a key, pick a beat, pick a chord progression, and figure out how to personalize it. You create a melody and a hook, and choose the overall vibe of the song. That's it. Lyrics, they matter to some, but let's be honest here. Lyrics really don't matter in pop songs. Sorry, lyricists, but it's true. If that was the case, then we wouldn't have everything from She Loves You, Yeah, 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 and I Am the Walrus, Goo Goo Gachoob by the Beatles, which are brilliant songs in their own right. But those songs to Baby, Baby, Baby by Justin Bieber, or Country Girl, Shake It For Me by Luke Bryan. I mean, I can go on and on. I'm not saying that lyrics don't resonate with people to their core a lot of times, because they absolutely do. I'm just saying that it doesn't take thought-provoking lyrics to make a hit necessarily. We can't all be Bob Dylan. All right, I could keep going on about this, but the point here that I'm making is that learning chord progressions is a major part of gaining a true understanding of how music works altogether. You should really take some time to dig into this stuff if you don't already have a good grasp of it and you want to take your music knowledge to the next level. All right, before we wrap things up a little bit here, I just want to take a moment and plug an album of the day for you guys. Actually, it's 3 albums really. I already gave a shout out to one of them, Something Else by Julian Cannonball Adderley and the crew. That had Miles Davis on trumpet, Hank Jones on piano, Sam Jones on bass, and Art Blakey on drums. Anything Art Blakey touches is gold in my opinion. Something Else is the album that made me fall in love with small combo jazz in my late teens and early 20s. If you've never heard that one, please do yourself a favor and listen to it. Many people out there think that Miles Davis's Kind of Blue is the greatest not only jazz album, but album of all time. Something Else is my favorite jazz album of all time. Those 2 albums were released within a year of each other, and Miles and Cannonball Adderley played on both of those. So check it out, along with Miles Davis's Kind of Blue album. Now for the actual album of the day. All right, so for today's lesson, I'm choosing Stevie Wonder's Inner Visions album. If you've never heard this one, it is full of some incredible songwriting and chord progressions. There's also some really nice grooves all over this album from front to back. It's only 9 songs, so please, you can take less than 45 minutes out of your day to check this one out. It is an absolute gem when it comes to interesting but cohesive chord progressions, melodies, and overall songwriting. And Stevie Wonder is one of the all-time masters of building musical masterpieces that say something with the words, the notes, and the rhythm. You just need to do it. I mean, seriously. If you're not already listening to this album, then, I'm incredibly disappointed in you. Okay, I'm just kidding. I'm incredibly proud of all of you, especially for making it to the end of this video. All right, that's it. Chord progressions, everyone. Wow, 2 of them today. We must have done something good. Hey, thanks for sticking around and taking the time to watch this episode in its entirety. We covered a lot of ground here today, and you know what? You should just take the rest of the day off or go get some ice cream or something like that. I truly hope that you learned something from this, and I hope that it inspires you to learn more about music overall. There is no end to this stuff, and you can either scratch the surface or you can dive incredibly deep into it. I haven't decided if I want to do 1 or 2 videos on the next topic, but make sure you hang around for that one. It's going to be on scales, so if you want to move on from the world of chords and get into some single note playing, you're definitely going to want to check that one out. And if you haven't done so already, please do me a solid by subscribing to this channel here. Hit the old thumbs up icon if you like this sort of content, and comment down below if you have something to say about this stuff. I would love to hear it. Keep practicing and keep being the amazing person that you are. I'll see you next time, friends.